June the 18th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at one of the updates coming out of the Middle East right now, and it says reports of warplanes seeking to strike the Ayatollah as Israel hit 1,100 Iranian targets since Friday. That's when this began. More waves of missiles and strikes were exchanged between Israel and Iran overnight, with Israel's military announcing those 1,100 strikes, guys. It says the Israeli Air Force affirmed Wednesday that it is currently striking military targets belonging to the Iranian regime in Tehran. The war shows no sign of abating as yet. There are no announcements that Iranian and U.S. negotiators plan to meet. Now, they're kind of starting to cry uncle on this deal in Iran, but I'm afraid, guys, that what's really is happening is someone in the comments the other night mentioned that China had came in there with a plane and unloaded something. And I found the article today, and it was actually about 3 Chinese planes coming into Iran and unloading things. And my point in the video, I think it was yesterday, was that when you get a wounded animal backed into the corner all the way to its fight or die, then that's when they're really dangerous, right? And so I'm afraid with the information coming out of China, what else will they be delivering? But the hits that Iran is taking, Israel's taking, they continue. Now, the Israeli Air Force has complete control over the airspace of Iran. Trump is talking about that. And he's saying, listen, they're after the Ayatollah now. I've warned him, and I warned Iran for 60 days to make peace, quit getting behind all these groups that attack Israel. And really, if you go back to October the 6th, I think it was, wasn't it, over a year ago, that it was Iranian proxies behind it. Then you have Hezbollah, Hamas, all of that. The Houthis, with the trouble being pushed out of Iran. That's what they're saying. You and I have heard it for years. And so right now, with the threats going on, it's an all-out war against Iran. And when you combine the military and especially the air forces of Israel and the U.S., which may be happening more than we know or is about to happen, then you've got a pretty good, you've got a big problem on your hand. Now, with China delivering information and 3 plane loads of something, Russia behind him, then you've got a standoff of many superpowers now. It continues saying, despite more waves of Iranian missiles having pummeled Israel in the overnight and early morning hours, Israeli leaders are trying to present normalcy as telling the population not to panic. That's kind of you don't want any population to panic. You just want them to be prepared and have the shelters to get out of the way. Alongside intensified combat against Iran to remove threats, we will reopen the economy, gradually release the public, and return Israel to a path of activity and security. Defense Minister Katz said given schools and public venues have been closed and airspace has been shut for days. And I think Israel does rely on a lot of imported, flown-in supplies, and so that would really put a strain on them and put pressure on them to try to come to the bargaining table. But regardless of whose side you're on, I think what we're seeing is now the West and Israel is tired of the continued threats of nuclear annihilation. U.S. is big Satan, Israel is little Satan. And if they figure if they can, it's kind of like the head of the snake. And now they've wiped out everybody. Iran appointed someone else. They lasted 3 days. Now they're dead as of yesterday or last night. And the only one really viable is the Khomeini guy, Ayatollah. And I mentioned this last night. Will that create a holy war with the Islamic nations? And if we look at a map of that, which we're about to do, you'll see that Israel is pretty much surrounded. And by And I think that's the only reason he's been spared through many wars, was to, if you had to take out somebody or come in there and steal oil or whatever they do, or the ancient treasures, like they did in Iraq, then you still don't want to create a holy war. And that's probably very much talked about in the planning of all of this. He says, on the other side, Iranians say they are living through a nightmare after Israel's latest attacks, which involved more than 50 aircraft on Iranian centrifuge and missile production sites. Hebrew social media accounts are now widely claiming that Israeli jets are going after locations where they believe the Ayatollah Khomeini could be hiding. Now, again, war's not good for anybody, but if this is the person behind Hamas, the Houthis, and all of that, then they need to leave Israel alone. You know, I'm trying to be unbiased on this, but I'm telling you the truth. They've had enough. And the only thing about it is Benjamin Netanyahu's credibility sucks. And I'll show you that chart, but it says the Israelis continue going for command and control, nuclear and vital infrastructure sites. Defense Minister Israel Katz has lately announced Israeli Air Force fighter jets just destroyed the headquarters of the Iranian regime's internal security, the main arm of the Iranian dictator's oppression. Now, also, Iran found out, I think 2 days ago, where Mossad's headquarters were, and they knocked the crap out of it, guys. A big missile hit there. They said it didn't do much damage. Israeli did. But it was it tore the side of a building out. They said it damaged some very sensitive areas. And so it's, tit for tat, going back and forth still. And last night, guys, in the video, which I enjoyed very much, we watched the sunrise in both Iran and in Israel. But what had happened, I think we lasted 3 or 4 hours in there, but we were in the last hours of the early morning, and there were some hits before that. But we came in there when we found out what was going on and looked at it. I think some of that's continuing. If I can get the energy up, guys, it's been a hell of a day. And I almost didn't do this video, but I'm trying to get a second win right now. And if I do, we will go live and look at some of those cameras like we did. And it always gives us a chance to discuss things amongst ourselves, kind of like our group, our community. If I don't, you'll know that I've just about gave out them. Again, kind of tired, but this information was too important for me to go to bed and not tell or talk about it. A lot of you already know about it, but some people don't. Again, the Israeli Hebrew social media are saying that the Israeli jets are going after locations where the Ayatollah Khomeini could be hiding. Now, Trump told them a couple of days ago, if you remember, we know where you're at. And I'm sure that within minutes of that, that he was moved. And from what the information we're seeing, they're going after site that he may be in. It says the Israelis continue going for command and control, nuclear and vital infrastructure sites. Defense Minister Israel Katz has lately announced Israeli Air Force fighter jets just destroyed the headquarters of the Iranian regime's internal security, the main arm of the Iranian dictator's oppression, like his secret service. As we promised, we will continue to target symbols of Iran's rule and strike the Ayatollah's regime wherever it may be. And there's actually a lot, they were hacked. I think the Iranian internet went down and some things, but some of the TV stations and others were hacked. Probably Israeli, but they were telling the Iranian people to revolt, stand up, fight against the regime that's been so oppressive of you and so suppressive. Now, again, they're going back and forth, but Iran has significantly lost a lot of assets. What you're looking at is locations in Iran hit by Israeli strikes. Israel has launched an operation targeting Iran's nuclear, military and energy sites around the country. Now, the map is very interesting if you look at it. Again, Iraq was complaining. They're here to the left. You've got Syria, and then you got Israel to the left of this, to the west. And but Iraq was complaining that Iran was using their airspace, and Iraq did not want to be bombed by the U.S. and Israel. So they were really complaining, I think, to the United Nations. But in the red dots, you're seeing the Israeli strikes in Iran. The green squares are Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, everybody has nuclear power, right? Right. But you know, the only one of these green dots that is a nuclear power plant is right here. All of the other ones is the Isfahan Nuclear Technology Center. They've hit 4 critical buildings are damaged. The Nance here, strike, you see the red dot, that's Israeli strike. Green square, above ground enrichment plant destroyed. Here, you can't see it because there's about 3 strikes on top of it. It was the Fordo fuel enrichment plant, not impacted by strikes yet, they're saying. It must be heavily fortified. Then the Tehran multiple nuclear facilities, 1, 2, 3, I can see from this map. Just keep up with the count. And then between Paranshah and Tabez here, you've got another nuclear facility. It's not named. And then you've got the strikes all through here. But I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 nuclear facilities, but only 1 power plant. Then if you look at the title here, going back to Isfahan Nuclear Technology Center, what are they doing? If these other nuclear sites, here's another one I think I missed, 12, down near the Strait of Hormuz, right on the edge of the ocean, same as this one. But what are they doing with all these sites if they're not enriching uranium? Right here it says Fordo Fuel Enrichment Plant. But the only one that is really there for good would be their nuclear power plant. It's here. Now, one thing that's interesting in the map to me is, notice there was a strike here on the South Pars gas field. See that? 3 strikes north of that. So if the Bushehr nuclear power plant is powered by gas, they're striking the gas lines. See that? And you got damage all the way down near Kuwait through here. And this earlier today. They may be doing more strikes now. I'm not sure, but just wanted to give you a map. Now, what's important, again, Israel's to the left. Turkey's not really friends with Israel. Iraq really isn't. They're complaining about Iran's air flight over them, but we're dealing with Islamic nations. Saudi Arabia, as long as they got good trade, they're cool. You know what I mean? But when you go, if they kill Ayatollah Khomeini, that may change it. It may not. Half of these guys may celebrate the end of him. But guys, we got to be aware that there's crap coming from both sides. Now, the fog of war is always mentioned, and the communications going down first and everything else. But we're looking at the site struck. But I want to look at something that I mentioned in a video a couple of videos ago. Now, this is an article also from today, and it's from the Israeli ambassador. It says, whether Ayatollah lives or not is irrelevant. We're ensuring they don't get nukes. Now, a couple of videos, again, I mentioned that Benjamin Netanyahu had, I think I said at least 12 times, but I went back and found that chart, and it was 22 times since 1992. If I'm not mistaken, he's come in with a declaration we're days or hours away to give reasons to attack Iran. But what they never did was to go after the Ayatollah that I know of. And so that kind of changes the situation for both groups. Right now, again, we're knowing, the Israelis, they understand prophecy, and that Israel's going to catch hell coming up, and they're going to do everything they can to delay that. As much, we would too. It says that lion will roar out of Judah. The top of Mount Carmel will wilt or melt. And so and the Gentiles will overrun the city. But what we don't know is I'm never going to say the timing on it. I can just point to the certain aspects of where it's pointing to. But again, this time, this is the head of the snake, if that's what you want to call it. He's the one that is the main dog, because it is a religious Islamic nation. And religion has been built up for thousands of years to be used as a weapon. The Crusades, all of that, the Knights Templar. Get people behind a religious doctrine just to go against your enemies. It's not very religious, is it? Sure as hell isn't. And I'm sick of the bloodshed. I'm just sick of hearing about it. But if Iran is, and they may have certain reasons, but you can't continue to threaten the U.S. and Israel and some of the other nations in that area. Europe is really happy. They came up today, one of the European leaders, and said, we're so happy that Israel's doing the dirty work here in this situation, because you've got one center in the Middle East that has continued this rhetoric. It was all on purpose, though. Albert Pike knew about it. That group knew about it. That all of this would be fomented on purpose. How would you do it? You would put a nation in the middle of the Middle East that would be, to them, in their Islamic religion, a very big pain or thorn in the side. You would have it instilled into the Israelis to defend at all cost, and so that it would lead to an ultimate battle, guys. And that's what we're seeing right now. What we may do, I think last night we looked at the videos late, and I think that the action and the back and forth between the two nations, we missed that. It was a beautiful sunrise in the Middle East, and this morning I watched this, the sunset in the Middle East, or sunrise, but this morning I watched the sunset. It was early this morning here, so it's well into the night. But let me look around and see what we're seeing on the different webcams from both Iran and Israel. And I may put up a live stream. I may not come on and do much talking. I'll be in the chat. Again, I'm a little bit tired, but we've got to keep the information going, guys. It's a heads up. Be safe.